Hey there everybody, Eric from Outer Limitless coming at you today with another video. Now in today's video we're going to take a look at a fantastic knife from one of my favorite knife companies. This here is the Atayal from Work Tuff Gear. And if you take a look back in my channel, you'll see one of the first models that I covered on my channel from Work Tuff Gear here, the Atayal. Now both of these absolutely fantastic knives. They are kin of each other, and there is a third model, sort of the mini or the smaller version of the Atayal. So very, very cool knives, and nice that there is a series. So what we're going to do today, we're going to take a look at this in a little bit of detail. I get it out on a camping trip, get some good quality use, not just with the Atayal, but the Atayal as well. Just enjoying these knives. Perfect camp knife, awesome hard use, fixed blade, but with that said, I have a whole bunch to do and a whole bunch to share with you. And if you're interested in seeing a little bit more about what I'm about to get into, do me a favor, stay tuned. Now before we get too far, I would like to say thank you very much to the people at Work Tuff Gear who did provide this for review. And so here, the Atayal. First and foremost, it does have a traditional name. It has some traditional style, but with obviously modern day world flair. A fantastic hard use fixed blade, literally perfect for camp tasks, very light, very nimble, and just a stellar performer. If you're not familiar with Work Tuff Gear, you've been hiding under a rock. You probably should be. If you like yourself a good hard use fixed blade, Work Tuff Gear is definitely a place to go to get one. With SK85. So SK85, seemingly to me roughly about like a 1095 type of steel, performing very well for hard use applications. Work Tuff Gear does do a fantastic job with their SK85, but there are a few things to consider. Like, for example, the fact that SK85 is a high carbon steel, so it can and it will rust. Now, personally, for me, I really don't care about that at all. It doesn't bother me, and in fact, if you take a look at my Atayal, which has had a ton of use at this point, I mean, you can see it's kind of weathered. It has some patina. It does have some areas of maybe a little bit of rust and some staining, but I don't care. These knives for me are all users. They're meant to be used, and part of that, and I'm not going to say comes from abuse, absolutely not, but if you do struggle a little bit with some moisture, I mean, a couple of things. First and foremost, touch up your edge. It's going to get sharp again. Second of all, put a little bit of oil on it and you'll protect it. And third of all, just use your knives. The rust will eventually wear off. You'll move on. And unless you're really seriously abusing your knife, you can see here, there are really no problems. And this particular version is not coated. Which brings me back to the Atayal, which unfortunately this particular variant is coated. I'm not a big fan of traction coatings. This is called the slick finish, which I personally, take it or leave it. I don't really personally like the slick coat finish. As a rule of thumb, I just typically strip my blades in the first place, so I don't necessarily need this. However, I will say that if you're somebody in a slightly more humid environment, you might be glad to have the coating. So on this particular variant, you'll see it does have it. Overall, you'll see this has roughly an 8¼ inch cutting edge. Nice large blade, pushes to more around 9½ inches once you work your way through the generous finger choil. As we take a look at the handle length, here, a nice large handle. So the overall handle length pushing a little bit further than 5 inches, but in the meat of your grip, you get about 4¼ inches, which is perfect for almost any size hand. Now, one thing I do want to point out is that Work Tuff Gear has a number of models in their in-house designs, and then also more outside designers. And these knives are in-house design. And you'll notice that both on the Atayal, which is the larger, and then the Atayal, which is the smaller, both have very similar handles. These handles, in my opinion, are about as good as they get. Extremely comfortable, extremely effective, wonderful lockup. The shape is perfect, but it's the sculpting, the rounding, and the overall just attention to detail, making sure that these are perfectly flush to the tang of the knife. These handle slabs do get hand sanded to the tang of every knife, and they all get just mated absolutely perfectly. The attention to detail and fit and finish from Work Tuff Gear is second to none. Now, even though this does have the traction coating, you'll notice that the spine has been sharpened across the top. That's going to work out very well for the ability to use this for some scraping tasks. Whether you're scraping bark or ripping on a ferro rod, that will work very well. And even the jimping on this model is subtle and it's softened, and I like that. I like the way this was done. I think that adds to the overall capability and purchase on the knife, yet at the same time, it's not going to tear up your thumb. Now that's enough talking about the knife at this particular time. Let's get out into the field and put these knives to some good practical field use. And so now as we get the Atayal out into the field for some good quality field use. Now if there's any one place I love to use my hard use fixed blades, it's on a quality camping trip and here with my son. So you can see I am preparing some wood for a fire. Now this particular day, it was raining out for a little while. Things were a little bit damp, but I am getting down through the wood for my ability to get down to some dry wood and actually start the fire. Now it doesn't look too bad. It was a little bit dusty outside, nice and sandy, so everything kind of drying out a little bit, but at the same time, I knew I had to get myself a baton carved out so I could actually split down and through this wood. So that's the first thing with the Atayal. Right away, getting to the carving tasks. Now, the Atayal at over an 8-inch blade would generally seem as though it would be a little bit forward heavy, but this blade is not. Because it has a high grind all the way up towards pretty much a very high saber grind, it does maintain a very nimble and light balance in the hands. Coupling that with a beautifully sculpted grip and that generous finger choil, this can absolutely do the carving tasks with ease. And as you can see here, just getting on the wood and carving very, very easy. Now you can see off in the distance, my son getting down to some work. I had him putting in some time, getting some feather sticks going for me, the ability to really start the fire. So while I'm sitting here pounding down and batoning through the larger stuff, he's back there getting me some solid curls. But again, the Atayal, a wonderful performer. I do love the blade shape for a couple of reasons. First and foremost, the overall length really does lend itself very well to general camp tasks. If you're somebody that likes a slightly larger knife, this will absolutely do it. And I will not say this is in the chopper class. A lot of times when you get into a knife that's larger than 8 inches, it does tend to be more in a chopper class of knife. But I'm going to definitely say this is more towards a camp knife. Now turning the corner here, you can see I did get the Atayal into my son's hands. And something that you're going to notice, it took him a very short amount of time to really gain control over this knife and find the edge and really carve very effectively. That was one thing that he mentioned to me right away, was his ability just to do a wonderful job with the carving tasks. And you can see, even for a younger kid, his ability to comfortably hold this handle, get on the wood, find the edge, and take some real nice curls. And this was doing a perfect job for him.
If you can, when I carve, I try to start making like a spot that I can push a curl down.
Now, a couple of things worth noting. This Atayal and the Atayal both have essentially the exact same grind. The Atayal is a little bit thinner, the Atayal a little bit thicker, with the Atayal being 3/16 of an inch and the Atayal being closer to a 5/32. But at the same time, both of these with essentially the same grind, a very high saber, that similar blade profile and sweep, and a convex cutting edge. That is one thing that you do get with Work Tuff Gear, just a beautiful cutting edge. The cutting edge on Work Tuff Gear does sometimes take just a little bit of time to get used to, but if you take your time, practice, and really work to refine your curls, refine your slicing, you can get some real fine, tasty little curls. And you can see, even for my son, who's pretty much a novice, but yeah, you know, he's got some handle time, he can definitely find this edge with ease and get some real fine, tasty little curls, and all the way up through some larger chunks of wood if needed. So again, both the Atayal and the Atayal having wonderful geometry, all the way from the handle geometry, the comfort, the overall blade shape, size, dimensions, but that cutting edge, that nice and refined cutting edge, absolutely fantastic from Work Tuff Gear.
All right, buddy, good job.
But now back to the Atayal. A wonderful carver, a wonderful slicing knife. That's exactly what I'm saying from these Work Tuff Gear knives. Just stellar performers in every single way. And look at the minimal amount of effort that I need to put into carving here. Literally, minimal effort, just gliding the knife right down the wood, just pulling, just perfect curls right off of this piece of the log. And this is going to be absolutely awesome for my kindling. I'm not quite at tinder yet, but definitely at some good quality kindling. And even when I lighten up even more, you can see the extreme amount of control, balance, feel. That is the wonderful thing that you get from Work Tuff Gear in general, but most specifically this Atayal. It is an absolutely wonderful and stellar quality performing camp knife. I absolutely love it. And now back from my camping tasks. Awesome, awesome work for both the Atayal and also the Atayal, which I am thrilled at the opportunity for my son to get his hands on this Atayal and for it to perform so well for him. And after all the use that I've put it through, for him to be able to get on this, just get to good use and carve so well, and for him to enjoy this knife, that was just awesome. It was enjoyable for me to watch him and performing this work out in the field. So both of these are great options. Of course, you get a little more length out of the Atayal, which for me worked very well for the splitting tasks, batoning very well. You could definitely do a lot of great chopping. Now, you didn't see any chopping from me nor any stabbing, but this can certainly do it. The chopping's going to be really very easy with this blade shape and that nice big swoop. And another knife design that is very similar, and I'm just going to roll it in for the comparison, is the Lanzetta. Now, a different blade shape, of course, but also an in-house design with the same handle. And this, I do have a full field review, and you can see how effective this was out in the deep wilderness, relying on this as my only tool. And that's the thing about Work Tuff Gear. That's absolutely what you get with their knives. So the shape will vary, and you can kind of pick one or the other for various reasons, but I can tell you each and every one of these are absolutely going to perform. So in this case, that 3/16 of an inch, plenty thick, plenty stout, that high saber grind, good for splitting, perfectly wedging the wood open, but then refined enough on the edge for the carving tasks. Just a really, really nice tool for general camp purposes, general wilderness, and general survival-based tasks. Something else that Work Tuff Gear does a fantastic job is on their Kydex sheaths. So they do offer, in some cases, some leather, but mostly Kydex on their models. Here you can see, nicely done, very well formed, tons of lashing points, and in this case, a couple of straps. Now, you could use these a number of different ways, depending on your needs. For me, this would be simply mounted to a backpack, probably not onto my belt, but you could do this if you wanted to run it scout style. Now, I would probably opt to carry this more with a dangler attachment on my weak side, and then at that point have it, really for me, I'm right-handed, this would be on my left-hand side, and I would easily control the knife and draw it in and out of the sheath with some control. So again, holding onto the sheath carefully with my left hand and drawing cross body. So that to me is really how a knife of this size and length would be a little bit more effectively carried on my belt. And you could certainly add that to this sheath if you so choose. Now you'll notice that nice retention overall, nice click, very secure as I rattle this. A little bit of rattle, but not too bad. It's not really just gonna like fall out of the sheath. It has a good positive click. This is heavy enough that I think if you were to rattle this super hard, it might pop out of here, but at the same time, just a good amount of retention as you look at how that kind of sandwiches over the guard there. It does keep it locked in fairly well overall. So I don't think you'd have really any concerns with the knife coming out. I'd just be a little bit more careful if you wanted to carry it inverted. But overall, this Atayal is just a beautiful presentation and a fantastic package all the way around. And so, all right, guys, there you have it, a look at the Atayal, an awesome knife, and, well, a cameo appearance from its little brother, the Atayal. Both of these fantastic knives, just stellar performers. Work Tuff Gear always nails it, and their in-house designs are just tried and true. They're awesome geometry, fantastic handles, great design aesthetic. Can't beat the Work Tuff quality all the way from the knives through the sheaths. Just a wonderful job. And so again, I would like to say thank you very much to the people at Work Tuff Gear who did provide this for review. And for the rest of you, if you like this content, do me a favor, take a look at my Outer Limitless 2 channel, which is more on the tactical and firearm side of things. At this point, that channel is growing quickly. I have a ton of videos up there, so if you like what you see here on Outer Limitless, do me a favor and check me out on Outer Limitless 2. So alright guys, thanks for stopping by. I hope you like what you saw. I hope you found it a little bit informative. If you like what you saw, please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thanks for stopping by. Take care now. I'll see you soon.